Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the online history class. Today, we are going to read Unit 5, The Iron Age Society. In today's lesson, we will read point number 1, The Iron Age, and point number 2, The Discovery of Iron and its Impact. Before learning about the Iron Age, we should understand the concept of three-age system. Eras of human civilization and world history are split into three periods: ancient, middle, and modern. The Iron Age is the third principal period for classifying ancient societies and prehistoric stage of progress. In other words, it is the last stage of the archaeological sequence known as the three-age system: Stone Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age. Thus, Iron Age was the period of time after Bronze Age. Iron Age civilization were still considered prehistoric because most of the human beings staying at that time did not keep detailed written records of their history. Now, the Iron Age time period. The Iron Age was not a single time period that occurred simultaneously around the world. Instead, the Iron Age refers to when people in a particular location learned to use iron for tools and weapons, as well as when they started using iron more than other metals. The transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age occurred at different times at different spots on the globe. The Iron Age began from 1500 AD in Palestine, Syria, Turkey, Iraq, and Greece, whereas in India it began in about 1000 BC, which coincides with the later Vedic age. Now, what paved the way for Iron Age? Humans were primarily food producers. Before the advent of the Iron Age, they gave away their nomadic life and started settling, which resulted in the rise of population, which in turn increased the demand of food. But due to unavailability of suitable plough and equipments needed for agriculture, the increasing demand could not be met. In Copper Bronze Age, people used copper and bronze to make these equipments. Mostly they use bronze, but those are soft metals and are not at all suitable to make equipments needed for agriculture. Thus, they needed other metal. Now, why iron was important for that age? In most regions, the primary metal for making tools was bronze, an alloy composed of copper and tin. It's likely bronze would have remained dominant in Western civilization if tin hadn't been so rare. Between 1800 BCE and 1700 BCE, sudden scarcity in tin caused a steep decline in bronze tool and weapon. During this time, copper too began to run short. This shortage likely caused people to experiment with other metals. Iron was more common than copper and tin. but it had a much higher melting point than bronze. This meant they couldn't cast tools in the same way. By heating the iron, however, they could make it softer and use hammers to shape it. Over time, people developed ways to increase the temperature of furnace. This allowed people to cast objects out of iron. Much as introduction of bronze improved agriculture, military action and other activities using tools, the introduction of iron improved them even more. The availability of iron solved the problem of material shortages to make bronze. Farmers could use stronger plow blades to break up the toughest soils and increase farmland and thereby increase production of food. Now the discovery of iron. According to the evidences, people in parts of Western Africa and Southwestern Asia were the first to realize the dark silvery rocks pointing out of the earth could be worked into tools and weapons sometime around 1500 BC. Historians think the metal was probably discovered there by accident when some ore was dropped into a fire and cooled into wrought iron. Smelting iron. Smelting is the process of getting a metal from rock by heating it to a very high temperature. From our previous discussion, we know that iron was easily available, but it was hard to form tools using it. Blacksmiths produced iron using charcoal-fired shaft furnaces. Iron ore was melted to produce a bloom, which is a spongy mixture of metal and impurities. The bloom had to be further refined by repeated heating and hammering. And this is how iron was used to make different kinds of tools, weapons, and other necessary things. Now, what was the impact of the discovery of iron? Iron made life a lot easier in those days, when just living to the age of 45 was a feat. By that time, much of Europe had settled into small village life. Toiling the soil with bronze and stone tools, iron, iron, fa- uh, iron farming tools such as sickles and plow tips made the process more efficient and allowed farmers to exploit tougher soils, try new crops, and have more time for other activities. More time also meant that people could make extra supplies to sell or exchange. Some farming families spent part of their time making salt, sewing clothes, etc. Most settlements having evidence of making clothes, woodworking, and even blacksmithing. Better transportation system was formed in the Iron Age. Carriage and wagons made of iron replaced the hand-pulled carts, which led to the development in trade and expansion of civilization. That's all for today. Now it's time for a little quiz. You should answer all the questions over here and send it to me in the given email ID. You should also read page number 61 and page number 62 from your history book and understand this topic. I hope this lesson had been interesting for you. If you have any queries, you can mail me at the given ID. Thank you.